Welcome back, Astro listeners, to Star Lady Soul Reader Network. This is Media Monk, and as usual, I'm joined by the shining star of the zodiac, Star Lady. Hi, Star Lady.
Hello, Media Monk.
And we all remember Star Lady is indeed Kim Marie, the managing director for our network. EAN continues to provide the finest EA course materials for certification. And we also have a lot of other things on the website, forecasting webinars, our Astro Library. Just go to www.evolutionaryastrology.net for more information on a lot of those products. To schedule your session with Kim Marie, just call in to our office, 605-348-5111. We'll get you right on our schedule as soon as possible, send you the recording afterwards. And, this is a solar eclipse podcast, so a lot going on with relationships, I would say. Star Lady, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Welcome to our Solar Eclipse podcast. This is the South Node eclipse season, dealing with issues from the past. We are recording this on October 2nd, hours before the solar eclipse, which is going to take place right at 10 degrees Libra. First of all, our hearts go out to everybody in the Southeast. We have friends, family members, etc. We know people down there. And our hearts go out to all of you who are recovering from Hurricane Helene, which, by the way, if you look at the asteroid Helen in the skies, it is hanging out in the early degrees of Libra right now, and it is very close to that 10 degrees of the solar eclipse. On this solar eclipse, Mercury's hanging out at 11.5 degrees, and the south node of the moon is hanging out at about 7 degrees Libra. So we have a conglomerate there going on. And, I've been saying Uranus and Taurus has been one long climate event, and Uranus just went retrograde about a month ago in late Taurus, but I also think that we'll look back on this specific hurricane, and even more of us in the United States will really recognize that we humans are greatly affecting the planet with our use of resources and energy. And so may this be a turning point for all of us in changing how we relate to planet Earth. One more little interesting tidbit for you on this South Node solar eclipse at 10 degrees Libra. I don't study a lot of international charts that much. I do focus a lot on the U.S., but I just want to say that the chart of Israel for 1948 has Neptune retrograde at 10.5 degrees Libra. And their Prime Minister, Netanyahu, forgive my pronunciations, he has a plethora of planets in Libra. He has Mercury at 9.5 degrees Libra. He has Neptune at 15. He has a south node at 16 Libra. And if the time is right, his moon is hanging right in there as well, 18, 19, 20 degrees Libra. So here is someone who, Neptune natally at 10 degrees Libra, 11 degrees Libra, is trying to do his own play God situation. I just read a recent article on how nobody in the military in Israel wanted to acknowledge that they were not paying attention to all of the clues that Hamas was going to, strike a year ago, October 7th. Here we are, that Libra point again, early Libra. But yet they put all this energy into blow up pagers and whatever else with Lebanon to the north. Again, I'm not an expert in this area. I'm just pointing out that we have a south node solar eclipse, south node eclipse season, dealing with the past repeating itself all over again. And here it is breaking out in a part of the world where the country and the country's leader have a lot of dynamics being hit with this solar return in their chart. With the solar eclipse in their chart. So I'll let you, do your own research if you're budding astrologers. I'm just going to go back to pointing out that on a personal basis, on a collective basis, we all can have relationships from our past, South Node past, Libra relationships, surfacing up to bring old issues that we want to work our way through. Now, evolutionary astrology and other forms of astrology are fond of saying, don't think Libra is balance. One of the symbols of Libra is that scale of justice and the blind lady justice. Many times karmically, and especially because we're dealing with South Node past, eclipse season, many times planets in Libra will represent extremes of unbalance, the inequality in giving and receiving. Borrowing Scorpio words, some of the power, overpower, under, who's dominating, who's being dominated. And that stuff can all be exposed right now through this eclipse season. And the other thing to recognize from eclipses is that they happen twice a year. And so when we have solar and lunar eclipses, whatever energy they bring to the surface in a lunar, solar, in an emotional, conscious level, we deal with that energy for 6 months until the next eclipse season. So I don't see what's going on with Israel ending anytime very soon. To have it hit this strikingly close to their charts in the eclipses, it will continue on. Personally, wherever you have that 10-degree Libra area of your chart, so just say 5 to 15 degrees Libra, you can look at the Aries polarity, you can look at the Cancer Capricorn squares. If you have natal planets in those areas, they are going to be highly activated for the next 6 months until we start the next eclipse season. So personally, whatever is revisiting itself with relationships, do your best to process the giving and receiving. Do your best to reestablish some type of balance and equilibrium. Do your best to agree to disagree if you cannot find any common ground. Now in EA, we will say that the planet ruling the South Node, which is Venus, is going to be where we deal with the deeper level of these issues. And we have Venus traveling through Scorpio until October 17th. And so Venus and Scorpio can be bringing up a lot of the explosions, literal. It can be bringing up the drama. It can be bringing up things that have been below the surface in intimate relationships and just even Libra relationship with others that all of a sudden, poof, oh, I've got to really deal with this. Where is Venus in your natal chart? That will be another area where you are having to work through your inner side of Venus, which is your values and your relationship with yourself, and then your outer side of Venus, which is Libra, and your relationships with others. I've been meaning to do this in the last few podcasts and finally sparked myself to do it, but I, for the first time, have been seeing Venus in the evening sky recently. I'm not an early riser, but I love to watch the evening skies off the back of our cliff in our mountains of the Black Hills. So Venus became an evening star July 11th at about 29 degrees Cancer. But we are just really now, for me, I'm being able to see it living in the mountains. I don't look to the prairie on the west or flatlands. Venus as an evening star is going to continue to slowly rise in that western horizon. In Daniel Giamario's shamanic astrology, Venus as an evening star, other types of astrology too, Venus will make about 7, sometimes 8 conjunctions with the moon as it rises higher and higher in the sky. And this is known as Venus gathering vestments, gathering wisdom and insights before it will have its retrograde cycle early next spring. I'll talk about this again, but Venus will reach its maximum, they call it the maximum elongation east, and that's where it will be highest in the evening sky. It will reach that January 9th, 10th at about 7.5 degrees Pisces. And that's where, again, it'll be the highest altitude in the sky as an evening star. It will also be when it is the brightest. And Venus is the Earth's brightest planet. Yeah, it's the brightest after the moon, but, astronomers don't consider it to be a planet. Now, a website that will give you a lot of great astronomy in regards to being able to watch Venus in the sky is earthsky.org. earthsky.org. I refer to that website many, many times for the astronomy of the planets as evening stars, morning stars. So look that up. And by the way, in a few days, October 5th, we will have a moon conjunct Venus at about 15 degrees Scorpio. The moon will barely be a little sliver in that evening sky post the solar eclipse, and you can see it up there with Venus if you have the ability to look out there into those evening skies. All right. Do your best to make peace with all your relationships, stand up for yourself, and be able to say, I'm sorry, when you need to be the one acquiescing, moving towards greater and greater equality. Probably the two biggest things that we have going on in the next 2 weeks is the fact that Jupiter is going to go stationary retrograde October 9th at 21.5 Gemini, 2120. And Pluto's going to go stationary direct October 11th at 29:38 Capricorn. So Jupiter retrograde, Pluto direct. 2 planets stirring up. Jupiter turning stationary retrograde in Gemini. How are we throwing off old beliefs? And as it turns retrograde in Gemini and points retrograde towards the sign that rules Sagittarius, where is truth for you? Where is truth on the planet? And Pluto turning direct, October 11th, 29.5 Capricorn is, the last of its march in Capricorn. It will go into Aquarius after the U.S. election, but it will go into Aquarius November 19th. So it's barely 5 weeks in Capricorn left as it's going to turn stationary retrograde. What's the bottom line reality for you? What have you learned in the last 15 years of Pluto in Capricorn? How are you making peace with space-time, Capricorn, in your world? What are the desires, Pluto, that are moving up into consciousness and renewing for you as Pluto turns stationary direct? How is your maturation process going? How is your maturing, aging process going, if that is where you are at this point for your soul in your world? Now, I want to take a moment and put a shout out for the Jeffrey Wolf Green Association of Evolutionary Astrologers, jwgaea.org. And they're having an online conference October 3rd through the 6th. I will be speaking October 5th on the USA presidential election. I'll be speaking Saturday evening. You can purchase just that lecture, and when it asks for a coupon code, you can use Kim Marie 10% off, no space. Kim Marie 10% off. Thursday, October 3rd, you can go to that website, jwgaea.org. You can go to that website and register. They will have a free kickoff Thursday, October 3rd, 11 a.m. Mountain Time. And this will be with all the speakers if you would like to just participate in that and listen to what everybody's going to say. And I think there's a couple of specific questions for each speaker. Don't have them on the top of my head right now. But again, it's a hour-long free kickoff if you would like to just participate in that for free. And so, following Jupiter retrograde and Pluto stationary direct, October 12th, Jupiter is going to make a waxing sextile to Chiron retrograde. Again, Jupiter is still going to be 2119 Gemini. It will have barely moved. And then puts Chiron at 2119 Aries. Jupiter is going to make 3 waxing sextiles to Chiron in its retrograde cycle. Opportunities to heal. Also, if we look at the distortions of Chiron in Aries, opportunities to pick a fight. So what's your choice here? Are you going to do your best, Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, to release old opinions, to release old beliefs? Can you do your best with the opportunity and choice points of waxing sextiles with Chiron to heal? Can you be that Chiron Aries natural warrior for the planet, for what's best for you as you move forward with all of your healing energies? One tidbit, and I'll speak to this in detail this weekend, I have been saying that with the Jupiter retrograde cycle from 21 to 11 degrees Gemini and activating Donald Trump's chart strongly, going over his Uranus, going over his North Node, opposing his Moon, opposing his South Node 3 times each. Donald Trump has a lot of Uranus activation in his chart by forecast and natally. I've just been saying for a while this year that Uranus rules the brain. And in direct terms, he's having a dementing brain, not an aging brain, a dementing brain. He is cognitively, declining in a very fast way that many of us have watched our elderly parents do over time. This is probably the biggest thing that is activated in Donald Trump's chart. Stay tuned. I'll talk about this over the next few podcasts because we will have 2 more before the presidential election on November 5th. Mercury is going to go into Scorpio October 13th through November 2nd. And that's going to help us get to some, it can bring up some of those October surprises that the USA politics talks about. It can also get us into some of those direct conversations, especially coming off Mercury and Libra conjunct this South Node solar eclipse. Do your best to speak up, Libra, as honestly as you can, because I like to say Libra will play that karma chameleon. I'm going to say what you want to hear rather than what I want to say. I'm going to put on the, personality traits that you want to play with rather than be my Aries polarity self. So if we're not speaking up, if we're not working towards that equality and the honesty with others, when Mercury goes into Scorpio, it can, bring the arguments, it can bring the blow-ups, it can bring the intensities of everything that you are needing to deal with. Well, heads up, do your best. While I talked about the fact that Jupiter is making 3 waxing sextiles to Chiron over its retrograde cycle, the day after that first waxing sextile, October 12th, on October 13th, the Sun has its opposition to Chiron retrograde. Again, 21, this one's 2114, Libra Aries. That's the high point of Chiron's 5-month retrograde cycle. And so as we get to the middle of October, are you the victim or are you working to heal? Are you blaming others or are you taking self-responsibility? Are you being self-honest? We don't operate in a vacuum. What did I do to attract this to me? How can I work to be healing with this energy? We'll also finish up October 14th, Sun making waxing square to Mars, 21.5, Libra, Cancer. Sometimes I look at that Sun waxing square to Mars as almost the start of its retrograde cycle that's going to come in December, January, February. Stay tuned because Mars will actually retrograde from Leo back into Cancer, most of its retrograde cycle in Cancer. They're going to square at 15 degrees, 16. And, no, did I get that right? Nope, 21. Sorry, 21. And yet Mars is going to retrograde back to 17 Cancer. So they'll go back and forth over this point as well in their retrograde cycle. Pay attention to what's going on for you emotionally, especially if you're getting triggered in your relationships. That same day, Venus is going to oppose Uranus at 26.5 Scorpio, Uranus retrograde Taurus. So we can have a little bit of relationship stuff coming to the surface, needing to be addressed continually, not just right now in the solar eclipse, but leading up to the full moon of Aries that will come along October 17th. Oh, did I mention relationships? By the way, I think I forgot to talk about the fall equinox in the last podcast. I don't know if I mentioned this. I don't know if I mentioned this or not. But the mantra I created for Libra many, many moons ago, I balance a diversity of relationships with my own initiative. I'll repeat this on the full moon. I balance a diversity of relationships, Libra, with my own initiative, Aries. So, take a deep breath. Balance out your relationships, giving and receiving, communicating as best as possible. As Jupiter goes retrograde in Gemini, what is being exposed for you to know, Gemini, and understand? Sagittarius polarity. And as Pluto goes stationary direct for the last time in 230-some years in Capricorn, what's the bottom line reality for you? And how are you going to choose to go forward with that? Again, peace to all peoples in all lands. And here's to all of us learning how to have a better relationship with Gaia, our living, breathing planet Earth, and how we want to heal the climate of planet Earth so that we can all live here safely. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Star Lady. Remember, if you have not entered your name and put in at the bottom of every page on the website, you get on the Astro News list. We're going to have some specials coming up in October, November, not only for our EA course, Astro Library, some other products. So be looking for the coupon codes in those newsletters, so you have to join in order to get that benefit. So until next full moon, move with joy and lots of passion on this relationship journey to the core of our souls. Thanks for listening, everyone.